literally everyone on Earth, is the only winning move to just not play the game at all? All right, let's jump right in. We're heading to a place that's, well, it's the very heart of Egyptian innovation, the vast desert necropolis of Saqqara. You see, for thousands of years, this place has guarded the secrets of how the ancient Egyptians literally built their way to immortality. And it all kicks off with one single, revolutionary structure. And Egyptologist Chris Naunton just nails it with this quote. The step pyramid at Saqqara, it isn't just some pyramid. No, it's the very first monumental building made of stone anywhere in the world. I mean, just think about that for a second. This right here is the blueprint. It's the origin story for every single pyramid that came after it, from the great ones at Giza to all the others along the Nile. So you gotta ask, right? Who was the genius behind this incredible, world-changing idea? Well, his name was Imhotep. And here's what's so amazing. He wasn't royalty, not even close. He was a commoner who, just through pure, raw talent, rose up to become Pharaoh Djoser's right-hand man, his chief architect. The guy was an absolute revolutionary. Now, to really get how radical Imhotep's idea was, you have to see what they were doing before him. Before this, royal tombs were pretty simple. They were these kind of squat, square things made of mud brick, called mastabas. Imhotep looks at this and thinks, we can do better. He imagined something way grander, something that would last forever. And the key? Building it not out of mud, but out of stone. And here's the absolute genius of it. His process was so simple, but it changed everything. He started with that shape he knew, the mastaba for the bottom layer. But then, he just kept going. He stacked another, smaller one on top, and another, and another. And just like that, he literally invented the pyramid. It's incredible. I mean, the scale of this thing is just mind-blowing. When it was finished, it was over 200 feet tall. It completely dominated the landscape. For its time, it was the tallest building on the entire planet. This wasn't just a tomb, it was a massive statement, a permanent symbol of the pharaoh's power, built with more than 500,000 tons of limestone. Just unbelievable. But look, this was about so much more than just building something huge. The step pyramid was actually designed to be a kind of machine, an engine for resurrection. So that brings up the big question, right? Why? Let's dig into the incredible spiritual beliefs that drove this whole thing. So, picture this. Deep, deep under the pyramid, in the actual burial chamber, archaeologists find another one of Imhotep's brilliant ideas. The ceiling, it's carved with stars. The thinking was that even buried deep in the earth, the pharaoh's soul could look up, see this symbolic night sky, and begin its epic journey to join the gods among the stars. So how in the world do we know all this? Well, it's because of something called the pyramid texts. And this is wild. These are the oldest religious writings ever found, anywhere. They were carved right onto the walls inside later pyramids. Think of them like a guidebook to the afterlife, a collection of spells meant to protect the pharaoh on his pretty dangerous journey. And this journey, it wasn't supposed to be a walk in the park. The underworld was believed to be full of danger, all sorts of obstacles and terrifying gatekeepers. There was no way the pharaoh can make that trip alone. He was going to need some divine help. And the pyramid texts were basically his instruction manual, telling him exactly who to call on when he got into trouble. And this is a perfect example of one of those spells. It's an invocation. Basically, it's a direct call for help to a celestial ferryman. The idea was this ferryman would carry the king's soul safely across the treacherous waters of the underworld and get him to the other side, to the afterlife. Okay, so Imhotep built this incredible eternal home for his king. But what about him? Where was his tomb? For centuries, that's been one of the biggest mysteries in all of Egyptology. And for the last 30 years, one archaeologist, Miroslav Barda, has been leading the hunt for it at Saqqara, trying to find the final resting place of the man who literally started it all. And you know what? His team started finding some really juicy clues. They were digging in this perfect untouched area of Saqqara, and suddenly they find pottery. Specifically, old beer jars that date to the exact time Imhotep was alive. And then, right near there, they find it. A deep, unexplored shaft going straight down into the rock. You can just feel the excitement, right? This could be the one. The excitement must have been off the charts. They're clearing all this sand out of the shaft, they finally get to the bottom, and there it is, an entrance. An entrance to what looks like a sealed chamber. I mean, after a 30-year hunt, Is this it? Is this the moment they finally come face to face with the legend himself? And then that sinking feeling. The entrance wasn't sealed. It was open. And you just know tombs are always sealed up tight after the burial. So an open entrance can only mean one thing: robbers. Ancient tomb robbers got there first. The team realized they were literally following in the footsteps of thieves from thousands of years ago. But all hope wasn't lost just yet. So they go inside this looted tomb, and there's a huge limestone sarcophagus. But of course, the mummy's been destroyed, all the treasure is long gone, so figuring out who owned this tomb, it seemed impossible. The whole mission had to change. It went from a search for Imhotep to more of a detective story. Who was this obviously important person buried here? And it turns out, the key wasn't actually down in the burial chamber at all. It was in the chapel, 50 feet above ground, which is where people would have left offerings for the deceased. And right there, on the walls of that chapel, buried under sand for centuries, the team spotted something. A crucial clue. What they found was this faded red graffiti. Now, these weren't fancy carvings, just marks left by the original builders. Some of them were even upside down. You know, the masons just slapped the blocks in place and didn't really care which way was up. But when the experts carefully translated all these symbols, the name they got, it wasn't Imhotep. It spelled out Ptah-wer. So who on earth was Ptah-wer? Well, the team started doing their homework, cross-referencing everything, and they figured it out. He was a really high-ranking official who lived about 100 years after Imhotep during the 5th dynasty. He served a pharaoh named Sahure. So no, he wasn't the original pioneer, but he was clearly a very important successor. And as they pieced it all together, the picture became clear. Ptah-wer was a master craftsman. His title was the Sculptor, and he was in charge of making beautiful stone vessels for the king. And just like Imhotep before him, his amazing service earned him a huge reward, a prestigious burial right there in the sacred ground of Saqqara. He was continuing the very tradition Imhotep had started. So think about that. The huge 30-year hunt for Imhotep ends up leading them to this other guy, Ptah-wer. It's definitely not what they expected to find. But in a way, it reveals something even deeper about Saqqara and the incredible legacy that was forged there. A legacy, you could say, that was literally written in stone. And here's the big takeaway. Finding Ptah-wer's tomb wasn't a failure at all. In fact, it's powerful proof of just how huge Imhotep's impact was. His revolution in building didn't just create one pyramid. It created a whole new class of master craftsmen and officials who, for hundreds of years, kept serving their pharaohs and earning their own shot at immortality. And that's what this quote really gets at. This is the heart of Imhotep's genius. He didn't just stack a bunch of stones. No, he took the deepest, most important beliefs of his culture, ideas about life, death, the stars, everything, and he turned them into something real, something massive, something you could touch. He basically translated an entire religion into stone. So while it's amazing that Ptah-wer's story is finally being told after more than 4,000 years in the dark, that central mystery is still there. The tomb of the original genius, the man who designed a stairway to the stars for his king, is still out there somewhere, waiting to be found under all that sand. You know, Imhotep wrote the first chapter of this incredible story that would last for 1,000 years. Finding Ptah-wer just added another page to the book. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Who else is out there? What other brilliant architects and master craftsmen and incredible innovators are still lying buried beneath Saqqara, their own stories just waiting for someone to find them?